And thank you, Don. I feel like while he's stuck up here, not stuck up here, that's the wrong phrase. I also just want to thank him because he has also dedicated his life to this place, and we appreciate him as well. And don't go too far because I'll be bringing those two head elders back up one more time. So, but as we continue on, like I said, there is just a lot of people that we have to thank, and these two guys have done so much for the school. There are other people as well. There are others who have day after day, year after year, just committed themselves to this place. And I'm not going to have a chance to mention everyone, but we are so thankful for people who have given their lives here. And sometimes you don't see it, and sometimes you do. But it really makes a difference with the experience that we have. As we get started here with the next part of the service, I want to reflect on a short passage. But before I do that, I want to talk about pet peeves. Does anybody have any pet peeves besides me? Yeah, a couple of you. Yeah, okay, we all have pet peeves. Various things, right? Like there's all kinds of things that you have as a pet peeve. Some are significant, some are insignificant. Insignificant but important is the toilet paper roll. Anyone have any feelings on this? Any passion on how the toilet paper roll is set up inside? I didn't know I'd be talking about bathrooms so much today, I'm sorry. But the toilet paper roll, like pet peeve of mine, is when you go into a stall and someone has set it on the wrong side so it's not rolling properly. It's supposed to go over the top. We all know this, right? But somebody sometimes goes in and they put it in carelessly, or maybe even worse, purposefully, on the wrong side. And it's a pet peeve of mine. Like just put it in right. Another pet peeve, and this is all going to make me sound trivial as I share these things. Another pet peeve of mine is when somebody is telling you a story. Like they're telling you about something that happened the other day, and they're going on, and they start getting lost in the details that don't matter. You know what I mean? Like they'll be talking about, like, oh yeah, the other day I was going out to the grocery store, and it was on Wednesday. No, wait, it was on Thursday. No, it was on Tuesday because that was the day that I had this class. And you're thinking in your head, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I start getting really impatient. This is really bad of me, but I get really impatient. Like, it doesn't matter what day it is. Just tell me the story. Get to the point. And it really starts to drive me crazy. Don't feel bad if you do this, because I also know that I do this myself. Anyway, another pet peeve of mine, and this is the significant one that I want to hit on, is I really struggle when somebody tells me to do something. When somebody tells me to do something and I was already on my way to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's like say you're at home and you're living with your parents and you have this idea of, I want to do a good deed and I'm going to empty the dishwasher for them. And so I walk into the kitchen, and you're walking into the kitchen to empty the dishwasher, but as you do it, your mom or your dad's like, hey, could you empty the dishwasher for you? That is kind of an expectation we have of you. Have you ever had this before? I don't know if this is just me, but this drives me bonkers. If I am about to do something, if I'm walking towards a task and somebody, and this happens with my wife too, my wife asks me like, hey, could you do this? Somehow it just burns me deep inside, and I don't know why. Actually, maybe I do know why. And I think it tells you something maybe not so charitable about me, right? Because I think the issue becomes that I don't like being told what to do. Or in other words, what I really like is I like being in charge. I like being my own boss sometimes. I like being able to make my own decision and go when and where I want to, however I want to. And sometimes, even to this day as an adult, like I remember as a kid this bugged me, but even to this day as an adult, it still sometimes rubs me the wrong way when somebody tells me to do something. They give me an imperative. They're like, you do this. And I think, who are you to tell me what to do? And I might be completely compliant about the thing that's happening. I might even want that thing to be done. I might even want to be the person who does that thing. Like, I don't want anyone else to do it. But the second someone else tells me to do it, I bristle a little bit because I want to be in charge. And it's with that in mind, that recognition of some kind of frailty in my soul, that I think about this one particular text that I want to look at today. This one particular text comes from Colossians chapter 3, verses 22 to 25. And I think it speaks to a frame of mind that we should all be aiming for. And it's Colossians chapter 3, verses 22 to 25. It says this, slaves, obey your earthly masters in everything, and do it not only when their eye is on you and to curry their favor, but with sincerity of heart and reverence for the Lord. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Anyone who does wrong will be repaid for the wrongs, and there is no favoritism, in verse 25. The thing that strikes me about this text is, first of all, I think we all bristle a little bit with the idea of slavery, right? Because we have a complicated, very negative past with slavery. And I want you to understand, like, when you read a text like this in the New Testament, this is not Paul condoning the act. He's not saying slavery is good, but he is recognizing there's a situation that they are in. And the people that he's writing to, people that are in the church, are under this broken system themselves. And he's teaching them in this moment, this is a situation that you have to live with. This is where we are at in our society at the present. And here is a way I want you to approach it that is different than what you would expect. And the approach is, I want you to reframe the entire experience. Now, as I'm saying this, there's a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, this is a weird text to choose as we're recognizing church leaders, right? Can we say that? It's a weird text to jump into a text about servants and slaves when we're asking people to come serve and do something at the church, and we're not asking them to be slaves of the church. We're not asking them to have this kind of compliant obedience to the church, but it's a frame of mind that I think is instructive to all of us about how we can relate to people in our lives, how we can relate to things in our lives, and sometimes even things that are not pleasant. So, for example, you may not be a slave, none of you are a slave, but you all, most of you in this room, have experienced having a job before. Many of you have experienced having a job you don't like. Some of you, if you're totally honest, you could say the job that I don't like is right here on campus, and I had no choice. Mr. Larson placed me there. I have to work there. And you have to show up there week after week and do these jobs. And all of a sudden, Paul takes that thing that you're doing, whether it's a chore, whether it's a job, whether it's an act of service that you want to do, and he says, I want you to reframe that experience in your mind. And the framework that I want you to operate under is recognizing that the very thing that you do, no matter how low it is, no matter how important or unimportant it is, no matter how much you enjoy it and thrive off of it, or whether it's something that just burdens you to do, when you do it, key phrase here, whatever you do, all inclusive, whatever it is that you're doing, do it with all of your heart. Not half-heartedly, not just kind of like casually, but with your entire heart. Place it into this job. And do it as if you are working for God himself. When we serve, when we choose to do things for other people, we are doing it as an act of worship. One of the questions you could ask of Dr. Steele and Dr. Gerard is, why in the world did you continue to do this? Like, why did you put so much time into this place? Was it that you didn't have enough hobbies? Is that the issue? Did you not have enough other responsibilities to do in your life? And of course, if you know them, you know that's not true. You know there's other things that they could do. You know there's other demands that they have on their schedule, heavy demands that they've had on their schedules over the years. And not only that, but when they've chosen to do this and they've lined themselves up with this, they have received emotional scars over the years as well, because they have stood in the front of the church and they've accepted the criticism that's come their way. They've accepted the things that have been challenges that have had to be dealt with, and they have done this because it's an act of worship to do it. When you choose to worship God, when you choose to follow God, you will find that you are called to do things, and you're called to live your life, and you're called to work sometimes, and you're called to serve. That serving might happen through a job, that serving might happen in the house, through chores, through housework that has to be done. That working might come as a parental thing as you raise your children, but that working also comes as you choose to serve this place. And when you choose to serve this place and to give a part of yourself for the greater church community, the body of God, it is an act of worship. There's a quote that I want to read from Martin Luther King Jr. And it says this: "Light has come into the world. This light, of course, being Jesus. Light has come into the world, and every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or the darkness and destructiveness of selfishness. This is the judgment. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what is it that you are doing for others? When Jesus came into this world, he showed us clearly what it looks like to be present here and fully human in the way that God designed us to be, and that is through acts of service. And that when we align ourselves with that, when we do this thing, I believe our lives will be richer through it. I believe our lives will be significant and will actually start to find meaning. Research has shown this. Recent research has provided the evidence to support the idea that helping others goes hand in hand with meaningfulness. It's not just that people who have already found their purpose in life enjoy giving back, but instead, helping others can actually create the sense of meaning that we're seeking. Just from a secular point of view, when you align yourself with a community like this and you give your life to it, you will find more meaning in your life. Today, we're recognizing people who have decided to do this, people who have decided to find meaning through their service here. And we thank you for that, whatever that is. Some of you have said, you know what? I can greet here. That's something that I can do. I can stand out front when people walk in, I can give them a warm, happy Sabbath. Do that thing with your whole heart, and I believe you will find a worshipful, meaningful experience through that. Some of you have said, you know what, I can help in the children's ministry department. That's an area I can serve. Some of you are students. Some of you, when you came here at registration, you signed up and said, this is a place where I can be. This is a place where I can give. And when you do it with your whole heart, and you will find meaning from that. You will find worship in that moment. Then, of course, some of you have signed up to be deacons and deaconesses. Some of you have signed up to be on the church board. Some of you have signed up to be elders. When you do these things, do it with your whole heart. It's an act of worship, and you will find meaning in that. So at this moment, I'm going to ask for Dr. Steele and Dr. Gerard to come back up to the stage. And what I've asked them to do is to spend a moment sharing from their perspective where they have seen the calling on their replacement. So we have Miss Leanne Garapy as one of our new co-head elders, and Mr. Charlie Martinez as our other co-head elder. And part of what we're doing today is we call this an ordination. We ordain our new elders, we ordain our new head deaconess, and then we rededicate our old elders, and we rededicate our new head leadership. But what ordination is a recognition. So it's a word that you don't use very often, right, outside of church. But ordination is simply a recognition where you see God calling in someone's life. And it's a community-wide thing. When we gather here together, we as a community, we're saying we recognize you have been called to do this thing and that you've been called by God, and we affirm you in your calling. And so I'm going to hand it to them, Dr. Steele first, and then Dr. Gerard, and they will share